Hey Jeff. Hey everyone. Just waiting on Abhishek to join us, and then we'll get started.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, sounds good. Loud and clear.
Perfect. Hope everyone's doing well today.
There you are, Abhishek. Hey, welcome. Let's do a quick sound check. You hear us okay, Abhishek?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay, sounds good. I think we're almost ready to go. Just waiting on some people to join us. Make sure that nobody misses anything. Welcome, welcome everyone. Over 100 listeners. Okay, I think we'll get started. Welcome, everyone, to our community AMA. We have a few exciting updates coming in this AMA, as well as answering a lot of the questions that have been coming from the community. There's some really interesting questions around the product set, the roadmap, KYC issues, TG, airdrop questions. So we'll dive straight into it. I think we'll get started with you, Jeff, giving us a few updates, some progress and stats for Haven1. Anything exciting that's coming down the pipeline. So I'll hand it over to you, Jeff.
Great. Yeah. So thanks for having me as always, and nice to see the participation in this call. I got a lot of exciting updates for everybody. So I guess we'll start with just like general testnet stats. So we just reached 300,000 community members. So really good metric and milestone for us to hit as a community. Really thank you to everybody that is involved in the testnet and joining the Haven1 Rectors and community. For everybody that's been in from the beginning up until now, each and every one of you is very, very important to us. And we hope to continue a very, very long and fruitful journey with everybody in this community. So testnet transactions, we're seeing really good growth there. So roughly 50 to 60,000 a day. I think we had an all-time high of roughly like almost 80,000 transactions. So really good to see everybody interacting, whether it's with the GM button or with actually doing swaps and liquidity provisioning and other items that we have, staking ETH, doing the native staking ETH. That's great. We're starting to see the KYC numbers pick up as well. So really nice to see the community growth that's there. Next big milestone for us is to get up to 400K, and we can't do that without your help. So let's keep it going, keep pushing forward, and really, really exciting on that side. In terms of just general updates around the business side of things, we have actually had some exchange partners come on as backers of Haven1. I'm going to be vague about some of these updates today, as you'll understand why in a second here. But we are also finalizing some of the exchange listing conversations, which I think is something that's very, very important for everybody in this community to be able to have that liquidity. And of course, we'll also have our DEX, the Haven1 swap DEX for the H1 token swaps. And I'm also talking about doing some of the liquidity on like Uni as well, Uniswap. We do have some really important and exciting updates that talk more around like the real world asset tokenization and interest bearing stables on Haven1. Not built by us, but with really strong strategic partners that will be coming soon. And this gives you guys opportunities to earn not just H1 rewards, but also other rewards from our partners as well. So just more earn opportunities that will not just happen on the testnet, but all of this translates directly into the mainnet when we go live, which is really, really important to have these partners that are building on top of Haven1 and aligned with our community goals. So I think probably the biggest thing that I want to mention to everybody on this call is that Haven1's ethos across the board is community first, and we really want to make sure that we get our community involved. And we've seen a lot of over the years, a lot of L1s succeed and a lot of them fail. And there's a couple points that typically fall into the ones that are successful. I think having a community first approach is really, really important. And on that note, one of the things that we've decided as a team, and this has been there for a while, but we're making it public now, is that we will be doing a large public round, investment round with our community. And everybody that's in the community will be whitelisted to be able to get in on the same investment terms as the VCs, exchanges, institutional partners that have all backed Haven1 already. We are being sort of tight-lipped about who those backers are today, and you guys are probably a little bit annoyed by that, but it's intentional as we want to start to ramp up towards the public round here. We'll start to announce a lot of these things, but I think the key thing here is that we want to give our community access to the exact same terms that these partners have invested in at. Create more of a fairish launch type of approach. I think that's really important to have long-term buy-in to our community. There will be other terms that are available for those that maybe want shorter vesting periods, higher unlocks at TGE that you can get in as well. But we will absolutely be making the most recent round terms available to our entire community. So lots to come on that. We will be targeting at end of October, early November. It's with one of the largest launchpad partners in the world, one of the most reputable companies in the space. So we're really excited that we were able to pass their very, very thorough and rigorous due diligence process. I think it's a testament to everything that's happening on the business side as well as the community side within the Haven1 ecosystem, and most importantly, I think a testament to the need for a solution like this. So, and you guys are all helping really support that. So, thank you very much to everybody there. And because of that, we want to make sure everybody here has the ability to get in on a piece of the pie that everybody else has had access to. So, some really exciting updates coming on that front. We're working with a lot of other partners around the liquidity management side, institutional side. Our validator partners are all now getting finalized. So we'll be announcing more of those coming up. And really, as we're pushing towards our mainnet target, all the stars are starting to align, and this public raise will be the last piece that we really hope to really lift off Haven1 into a really top tier layer one project. So thanks again to everybody that's involved. We can't do a lot of this stuff without you guys. And so continue to play around, keep giving feedback. I know that the KYC process has been a bit of an annoyance for a lot of people. We'll be putting out some information around that as well. And there's definitely work to be done there. And we're constantly looking at this feedback and adapting and adjusting. So bear with us on that front. But yeah, very, very exciting times ahead here, especially as, I think the general market sentiment is that things will start to pick up here in October, going into November, and then the end of the year. So stay tuned, and that's the quick updates from the Haven1 side.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Super exciting stuff. So we've got a lot of questions that have come in over the last couple of hours as well, which I'd love to have Abhishek go through some of these. A lot of these are, like I said, related to product set. Again, KYC, as you mentioned by you, Jeff. We'll dive into some questions on that front. So I'll throw it to you, Abhishek. I'm gonna group some of these questions because there's been quite a lot, but obviously let's try to go through as many as we can to make sure the communities get their questions answered. So first one being here is all around the TGE and the airdrop. So primarily, obviously, people are interested in the timelines around that, as well as the reward hub points and how the allocation will work, and some additional features related to that as well. Over to you, Abhishek.
Yeah, thanks, GM, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support you've been doing to the Haven1 network. So the timelines on TG and mainnet and snapshot are one of the questions. Our current goal is to launch mainnet around last week of November, third week of November, that sort of timeline. And that will be the same time at which we then do the token generation event. The snapshot would ideally be not long, but the TG is when the snapshot would be. We've not yet again um, finalized the exact date for the snapshot, but given our airdrop program is fairly simple, we don't think there'll be a lot of time between the snapshot and the eventual airdrop. So yeah, I think a lot of these things start coming together mid of November onwards. Then there are questions on how the airdrop allocation is determined. This is this has been detailed in our documents, so I would definitely encourage you all to read through the documents on the Reward Hub, uh, which we've spent quite a bit of time writing through example scenarios. At a very high level, 80% of our airdrop is reserved towards XP and 20% of our airdrop is towards LP. Again, so XP doesn't eat into the LP bucket and LP doesn't eat into XP because these are sort of very clearly segregated. The allocation of that bucket XP is essentially equally over all the XPs. That is, as an example, if we have, as an just use these numbers as an example, if you've got million H1 tokens to be allocated over a million XPs, then one XP is worth uh, one H1 token. So the calculation of that is fairly straightforward. Then there are questions on, we've also been watching a lot of governance proposals uh, around introducing new tasks, um, such as like, introducing a GM boost after the 60 days. Currently, the last boost sort of expires at the end of 60 days. There are requests around introducing XPs for vesting and so on and so forth. Um, we are very much open to fixing if there's any bugs or any sort of feedback when it comes to the current set of tasks. Uh, Unfortunately, we are at a point where there isn't a lot of runway at introducing new tasks. Any task that gets introduced obviously introduces possibilities of having mistakes and having it distracts us from being able to launch mainnet in time. So we are at that point where you wouldn't see a lot of new tasks getting added to the reward app. All your feedback is extremely welcome. I kind of appreciate everything you've said. And if we had a lot more time until TG and airdrop, some of these are awesome ideas to implement. But we just don't have that much time left to airdrop and TG. It wouldn't make sense for us to add these new tasks at this point. Then there's like one specific questions on XP and LP history onto the website. This is something we've sort of evaluated in the past. There are a lot of complexity. There is a lot of complexity of showing this history to users. For example, we could have a momentary downtime on the calculation process, at which point the history might not be matching with the exact sort of number of um, XP and LP you're seeing, and that causes more confusion. So to avoid confusion and to make sure community doesn't sort of end up spending a lot more time here than is needed, we've sort of decided not to add history. If you have some concrete questions and concerns on, okay, this particular task is not getting rewarded, or I have gotten fewer XPs than what I should have in this concrete ways, do you can always sort of reach out to us through any of the community channels, or you can sort of log a bug. But we are like, just from an XPLP perspective, we aren't really at this point over engineering and adding more features to this. Great. Hopefully, I've answered
Yeah.
all the questions here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Abhishek. So that's good to know. I think that covered quite a lot of the questions people had. I think we'll move on to the next section, which is all about KYC related questions. So particularly, as we know, people have had some difficulties around face verification. I think we've talked about it obviously last time as well on our community AMA. We've given people some tips as well on how to best approach this. Some of those things are device related. Some of the things are related to other aspects as well. So it'd be good to cover some of these difficulties around KYC, but also talk about some of the features around the Haven1 passport.
For sure. So I think I'll start by saying that the feedback that the community has shared on all the ways and all the different sort of permutations and combinations of how KYC is broken has been extremely helpful. It has allowed us to have a much broader coverage um, of device and browsers where KYC works and where it doesn't. Um, a lot of these issues are unfortunately outside our control. As an example, um, a lot of our communities using mobile devices to be able to access a testnet. Um, and as much as it frustrates me, the mobile Web3 experiences are nowhere near the quality of experiences you would have when you are doing Web2 experience on a mobile. The integration between how your dApp switches over to the wallet, either through a wallet connect or some sort of a app kit, there's just a lot more issues and bugs. So even protocols that have been around sort of for a long, long time struggle to get this right. So there's just some things that we cannot sort of solve on our own. And as the Web3 browsing on mobile experience improves, those things will come over to Haven 1 as well. Naturally, there are some specific things that are there are some things that are specific to Haven 1, which we just cannot improve again. For example, um, I've seen MetaMask is a very good way to browse. The inbuilt browser within MetaMask is a good way to browse Web3. Unfortunately, while that works for every other thing within Haven 1, it doesn't work as well for ID verification, because ID verification requires being able to open your camera, being able to sort of record face verification and ID. And those things do not sort of work inside the browser that's provided in MetaMask. These are typically WebView browsers. So that, yeah, they just don't have the level of sophistication that the browser like your native Safari app or native sort of Chrome app would have. So those are things which are specific to Haven 1 but cannot be fixed. But there are many others which can be fixed, and we've sort of spent a fair bit of time over the last 2 to 3 weeks solving a lot of these issues. As we are tracking these numbers on how many users are starting verification, completing it, and passing it, these numbers are starting to meaningfully trend in the right direction. So while I can completely understand your frustration around KYC, I can tell you there's a lot of things being done behind the scenes to make it much better. And you will start to see a lot of that showing up over the next sort of few weeks, as you have seen in the last few weeks. There's two more questions there, which are very specific. One, if you have done KYC using a particular wallet on testnet, can you switch wallet on mainnet? The answer is we will allow users to add multiple wallets onto a single POI once we go to mainnet. So yes, it should be fairly easy for you to be having a different primary wallet on which your POIs or your KYC has been done, and you would be able to join all these wallets into one KYC that you've done. So that should be fairly easy. There's one more question on, can developers set up their own bespoke verification levels? It's a very good question. I can tell you this is one of the unique strengths of Haven 1. We built Haven 1 from ground up, preparing for this possibility. Um, a lot of us have worked in centralized exchanges before, where we've seen that often different applications will have different level of compliance requirements. And that would be the case for dApps that are building on Haven 1 as well. And they can very much configure the level of KYC they need. And then if the level of KYC that the user has done or you've done as a community um, not matching the requirements of the developer, you will be sort of nudged to level up your KYC. So yes, it's developers can potentially integrate more complex level of KYC requirements depending upon their compliance needs. And Haven 1 as a chain will very much support developers to be able to do these things.
Yeah, thanks, Abhishek. Before we move on to the next section, I do want to just highlight something or get a little bit of clarification. So as a user, if I'm having, let's say, issues with my, Web3 browser from MetaMask, what should I be doing? And just to give you a little bit more information, what is the best case scenario for somebody? What should they do if they're having an issue?
So, in my experience, the best way to go through this is to um, browse everything related to Haven1, such as sort of signing up, such as landing onto the portal, switching the network, signing the transactions, all of that within the MetaMask browser. As you start ID verification, we give you a link that you can one tap copy, and then you can go and paste that in the primary browser that you have, such as a Chrome and Safari, and complete ID verification there. That link that you copy will directly take you to Synapse, and then you can go through that sort of. You can complete your ID, your face scan, and your ID document scan within Chrome or Safari. That's one way we've seen a lot of our users interact, and that has meaningfully lower uh, failure rate. The other approach to this is to use if you don't want to use the browser within MetaMask, you want to browse within a Chrome or a Safari. Um, you are recommended to use Wallet Connect, then try to connect to MetaMask. That way, you can sort of you don't have you have a decent experience. I wouldn't say perfect experience. Signing transactions and sort of switching networks or whatever you need to do to get to ID verification, and then ID verification can be completed within the Chrome or the Safari. You don't have to switch browsers. So those are two sort of meaningful ways to go through ID verification that works.
Nice, thank you. There's a couple of questions here in terms of the features and roadmap that I would like to go through. I think we won't go through each of the questions just because I think some of them are overlapping. But in terms of the roadmap, is there something that we can basically share with the community in terms of where should they go to find that, or any sort of documentation around product set that's coming?
So yeah, very much so. In fact, I we've sort of Haven1 has made the roadmap available to the community for the last few months now. You can ask about that in our community channels. You can find it in our documents on the docs.haven1.org. Um, and I do want to sort of plug that this is not the case with most other layer one and layer two projects that are in the similar phase of execution. So Haven1's been very transparent when it comes to what our sort of immediate goals are leading up to mainnet, what we expect to be working 3 to 6 months post mainnet, and then what we want to achieve over a medium to long term time frame. So yes, I encourage you all to go through the roadmap and ask questions, and all those questions are welcome.
Nice. Let's do some of these questions individually as well. There's some questions around handling high traffic. Is there something you can also weigh in on?
Yeah, so this is, I think, a very good question. And we've had, by the way, similar questions around speed of the network. I do want to sort of, so firstly, let me just sort of talk at a very high level. When you look at a blockchain and often
We lost you there for a second, Abhishek.
Haven1, sorry, am I audible?
Yeah, we lost you for about like 5 seconds. If you can start over.
Yeah, so um, I see it's similar to the question you've asked around sort of performance of the chain. There are I saw several other questions, and I think this is a good subject to maybe talk about with the community for the first time. So Haven1's unique network design again is based on proof of authority. So there are seven reputable Web3 and Web2 organizations that are validating our network. Um, and versus like someone like a Ethereum or a Solana, which typically has 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, depends upon whose number you trust, nodes that are validating the network. Um, because we have fewer nodes, it allows us to scale the hardware requirements relatively easily compared to the likes of Ethereum and the likes of Solana. And that gives us a lot more ability to be able to increase transaction per second if we have to at some point in the future. The last performance test we've done, and this is about a year back, we were able to see the TPS in the range of 400, 500, and our network sort of, we've added more validator nodes than there were at the time. So I would expect again, we need to sort of update those numbers, but I would imagine our TPS is just from a benchmark perspective, assuming it's 400, Ethereum is 15. So we do, I would say our network is already quite sort of, the number of transactions that can be done in any given second on Haven1 is already quite good compared to a lot of other layer one and layer twos. And more importantly, the network is built such that these things can scale sort of fairly easily if required.
Awesome. Thanks, Abhishek. There's another couple of questions I would like to ask you, but I think it will give a good insight to the community around the network design infrastructure of Haven1, because I don't think we had much opportunity before for the community to learn really deeply into the ecosystem and the design of it. So I think we've touched obviously on handling transactions and handling traffic. But in terms of the verification infrastructure and handling demand, are there any key performance indicators that we use to measure network efficiency?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess like when you think about scalability of a network such as Haven1, as much as we want the chain to be able to have a very high TPS, good finality, and ability to scale, there are services such as KYC, etc., that also need to scale at the time of user onboarding. I can tell you that our current providers, we have the kind of relationships in the space where we're able to sort of bring in a lot of increased capacity. So I want to share with the community that our median time to verification when you have been doing KYC, like call it our average time to verification is less than 10 minutes. So that's is already quite good compared to what I've seen in a lot of other organizations which require KYC. And this can potentially sort of scale up and down very easily in close coordination with our KYC partners. Over a medium to longer time frame, we also want to have additional KYC providers so that we are not sort of, if one provider cannot scale as fast, we can potentially have traffic going through the second and the third provider, such that our users are being able to sort of, our users are able to onboard onto the chain in a easy and in a good user experience manner. So there is, so in long story short, a verification infrastructure is set up fairly well to handle increased demand, and that's kind of how we've done it over the last month or so. I think is a good testament to it. But even more importantly, this can scale fairly easily in the medium to long term time frame. One of the other questions, again, I just sort of on the network design, there was another interesting question I saw for the first time, which was around the gas fee structure on Haven1. So Haven1, so normally the way the fee markets, or call it the gas markets, are built on any chain, is that users, and again, this has sort of changed a lot in a chain like Ethereum over time, but the larger design has been that users spend gas to send transactions, and that gas is typically paid in some form of crypto, and that gas is paid out to validators who are essentially running infrastructure and might be running infrastructure, might be running sort of stake to incentivize them to validate these transactions. Now, uh, that's a usual sort of structure on. This works very well, except that when the chain needs to scale, these gas sort of ends up being increasing a lot, and then users are not able to transact on the chain. There have been examples on Ethereum, on Solana, on a lot of other layer one, layer twos, where the chain couldn't scale very well, and then the sort of fees basically got to a point where a user basically cannot transact on the chain anymore. And Haven1's design is built in a way that to handle this much better. We are a gasless chain. So a lot of basic things on the chain, such as being able to transfer tokens between, being able to send tokens to your friends and your family, that's a transaction which will never have any gas fees on Haven1. Um, and more importantly, what Haven1 also enables is that to allow developers to set up application fees. Um, if a developer is sort of building an application, let's say on on Ethereum or on Solana, the fees that a user is paying to land their transaction is actually not getting paid to the developer. So developers are struggling actually to figure out the business models. What Haven1 allows developers to do is um, to be able to sort of have an opinion on these specific functions within their application is should be having this sort of an application fee versus this other function should be having a different application fee. This allows a lot of freedom to developers to be able to build revenue streams out of Haven1 from the day one onwards. And it also helps users because then you could have a lot of transactions being available for free, but then high value transactions can be available for not free, for slightly higher than free cost. So I think I would say our gas, the way we've designed our local fee markets is very novel, very sophisticated compared to what you see in a lot of other chains, which are usually all of which are sort of copy paste of what sort of Ethereum or Solana has done.
Thanks, Abhishek. We'll give an opportunity for Jeff also to answer a few questions. The first one is grant process in Haven1, and what types of projects are we specifically looking for, looking to support to build on Haven1?
Sure. Yeah, Abhishek was crushing it, so it's all good. In terms of the grant process, so for anybody that is in our community that is looking to build or has an existing application that wants to build and release their app on the App Store, all you have to do is go into the developer links on our website, and then you submit a form. Each week, we basically are doing we have a group of people that are sitting in a committee that review the proposals from builders looking to build in the Haven1 blockchain. One of the things that's very unique to Haven1 is that because there is a review process to applications launching on our network, unlike a permissionless ecosystem in which everybody can deploy at any single point in time, it does create a very unique opportunity where you have a bit of a land grab within the Haven1 ecosystem where we can work with you to also offer exclusivity for specific protocols for a set period of time. So we have a lot of very interesting incentives available to builders that don't exist in other ecosystems. And we look at ourselves as complementary to a lot of the permissionless ecosystems. So just because you've launched your application on Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, or any of these other blockchains doesn't mean that you can't and you shouldn't consider deploying into Haven1, especially as we are EVM compatible. It's very, very easy to port your application over. And I think the communities in general are very complementary to each other. So the process is, as just to reiterate, is you go into our website, go into the developer section, submit a proposal to us. We review it once a week. We'll reach out to you with any questions that you may have. And then we decide from a committee standpoint, do we want to give a grant to the project for deploying? Typically, $5,000 to $100,000 worth of H1 tokens is available, and that can change if there's a really big strategic opportunity available. We also do a lot in terms of support for projects. We can help you guys with the smart contracts. We can help you guys with connecting you to auditors. We can help with co-marketing, which is something that I think a lot of communities oftentimes start to present to builders, but then because of the permissionless nature, it's very hard to actually stay on top of this. With Haven1, I think we have a very clear funnel for builders, which makes it much easier to operationalize, which actually ends up benefiting the projects or builders that are coming into our ecosystem. In terms of projects, the areas in which we see the strongest use cases popping up right now is what we call actually DeFi 2.0. And DeFi 2.0 to us expands beyond just the DEXs and lending markets and perpetuals markets, but expands into the cross-pollination of a lot of these products and into real-world asset tokenization. So examples are interest-bearing stablecoins or projects that are looking to use something like a tokenized money market fund, and then offer an interest earning product on that using DeFi looping. Like those are some of the very basic areas in which we're seeing a lot of traction so far, but it goes way beyond that into like prediction markets. We have a lot of gaming companies that are very interested in our product because of the gasless nature, subsidized through the application fees. Like this is something that's very, very easy and developer friendly. You can charge dollarized fees for lives and extra sorts of things beyond just NFTs, which I think makes it much easier for gaming developers to be able to launch and monetize, not just in bull markets, but also in bear markets. And I think in general, like we're looking for new, unique use cases as well. So it's an open platform, and anybody with any type of protocol can always submit to us, and we're always reviewing protocols that are coming in, SocialFi, DeFi, or DePIN, excuse me. All these things have a place within the Haven1 ecosystem. So there isn't a specific area of focus for us in particular, but we're all ears right now. So anybody that is thinking of ideas, we're happy to bounce around what you're doing and building to see if it makes sense to build on top of Haven1, and get access into the 300,000 community that's strong here.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. And I think there was another last question, which I think was already answered by basically everything that Abhishek went over and what you've discussed as well. But the question is, as Haven continues to grow and adapt, how do we plan to stay ahead of rapidly changing market trends and emerging technologies? I think everything that Abhishek covered basically highlights the nature, the innovative nature of Haven1, and what we're trying to achieve, and that will be the main. Everything that he's covered will be part of how we're looking to stay ahead. But anything else you would like to add to this question?
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge question to unpack because crypto, in general, tech industries usually move quite rapidly, but crypto is at a whole nother level. And narratives are always shifting and changing, and making sure that you're ahead of them so that you can capture the momentum is really, really important. I think from an L1 standpoint, what we've done is we've taken more of a product market research approach to building out the foundations of what we've done. And this comes into all the stuff that Abhishek's talked through. So the H passport, our network guardians, the permission deployments, mandated smart contract audits for builders. And from our standpoint, we feel that we're in a position in which we can bring on any type of new project with our enterprise grade infrastructure that targets really retail communities. And so this means that everybody can come into the single safe haven ecosystem and interact with safe, secure apps, whether it is a DePIN app or a DeFi 2.0 on-chain asset manager app, whatever that is, and whatever narrative comes around. We're just a more secure place for that. And being EVM compatible, where the innovation will oftentimes happen is going to be in the permissionless ecosystems inherently, because it's much easier to deploy contracts there, where there's also going to be a lot more hack scams and rug pulls. But when innovation looks to mature and really look for its next leg up, Haven1 is a perfect ecosystem for that. And we're already seeing this happening a lot. Just talking about like our validator partners, not naming names, but each and every one of them has put some level of a business case together as to why they believe Haven1 is the next blockchain that they want to take their large enterprise grade infrastructure to and build on top of. And so I think that in a way future-proofs the blockchain. Is it's not just kind of chasing these narratives, but it's making sure that the foundation is strong enough that you can have long-term sustainable projects building on top of you that are able to bridge between traditional finance and crypto, fiat and crypto. And a lot of that stuff, though it is a objective for every other blockchain, when you talk permissionless, there's a lot of faults that will stop mainstream adoption from coming in. And so I think foundationally what Haven1 is doing is much different than what a lot of others are taking. And we don't look at ourselves once again as a competitor or a Hedera or ETH killer. We look at ourselves as very complementary to those. We allow mass innovation to happen on the permissionless side. And then when you're looking to mature your product into an ecosystem that is still bustling and robust, Haven1 is a perfect place for that.
Thank you, Jeff, for that summary, and thanks to and Abhishek for both joining the call today and giving us such a detailed explanations to all the questions that have come in. There was another last question which I'd like to answer as well, which was around the Satoshi app. So for any users who've joined us through the Satoshi app campaign that we've done, you can submit your wallet addresses in Satoshi app, but there will be a need to register and complete KYC on Haven. Thankfully, the team has been working on launching our very own landing page to make it much easier for everybody to understand the instructions on how to do that, with a very detailed KYC guide, and how to complete the registration in order to be eligible for the upcoming airdrop rewards. So keep an eye out on that if you have joined our community from Satoshi. Um, and again, thanks Jeff, thanks Abhishek for joining the AMA and answering all the questions. As a reminder for everybody who's been listening, five best questions will each earn 250 H1 testnet tokens, and 15 lucky winners will walk away with 100 H1 testnet tokens. If you're wondering what testnet tokens are, I'm sure you've been interacting on a testnet and using the faucet. Those testnet tokens allow you to perform different actions on the testnet, such as swaps and complete other actions as well. So these testnet tokens will allow you to do a lot more of those actions and consecutively. Obviously, the more actions you complete, the more you interact with the testnet, the more airdrop rewards you will receive. So make sure that you do those things on the testnet, interact with the community, with the team. Make sure that you follow all our social channels and our community channels. And yeah, the winners will be contacted by our team through X and through other social channels. So keep an eye out on those messages. And thanks again, Jeff and Abhishek. Any closing remarks? Sounds like we're all
This is
good.
Yeah, this is where we both unmute at the same time and then try and talk. No, I think all good planned. So exciting times ahead, everyone. As just to reiterate, we will be from in case it looks like there's a lot of new joiners coming in. As we ramp up to the public round that happens towards the end of October and November, where the community members can all partake in the same investment terms that our top investors have invested in us at. That'll be coming here, and just pay attention to what we're doing. And we'll be doing tons of announcements around validator partners, those specific investment backers, both institutional as well as venture firms, exchange listings and everything. So a lot of very, very exciting things to come up, and let us know if you have any questions.
And thanks to the community for such a great turnout for this call as well. We'll see everyone on the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.